We went on a cross-country trip right before, like, middle of the pandemic. Everything was closed. We went with our best friend, and we went around different countries and national parks.
Okay.
States, not countries. Just
Oh,
states.
sorry. Yeah, different states, not countries. What the heck? And we were together 24/7. It was like being a missionary all over again, but without the confinement of a mission life.
Sure.
And it was more like, could this be a thing? Like, in my brain, I was just thinking of, like, could this be a thing? And it was a battle of back and forth of yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And my biggest worry was, I'm okay with being gay, like knowing where I'm from, but I knew her parents and I knew like her upbringing, and it would break my heart to separate her from that. Like, I couldn't bring myself to be in the middle of that situation. So I withheld like my feelings close to my chest as much as I possibly could, and try not to be obvious about it, even though I like very much was, just for the sake of like the relationship she had with her family. I just didn't want to ruin that whatsoever. And I just kind of like let it be for a good long time.
It is time for another episode of the Cultural Hall, and I'm excited about this episode because sometimes, and our guests don't even know this, sometimes when we do our articles of news episodes, I see something that's in the news or something that comes across my social media profile, and I go, you know what, I'm going to track those people down, and I am going to do an interview with those people, and there's a lot of times that I say that, and then nothing ever comes about it. But in this case, we have done it. My guests are Cammie and Heysell, and you're going, I don't know who those people are, but you might have seen this come across social media. It starts with a video, and it's basically the one that I saw was something to the effect of like, I was her trainer, and then the next picture is the two of you as brides and you're getting married, and I just was like, there's a whole story. So welcome into the Cultural Hall, you two.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
An uncommon story, for sure, but not. I suppose it's not something that's never happened before. Maybe it's something that hasn't been shared so openly on social media. I would love to know about each of you individually, and then kind of build me to the time where you guys were serving a mission, and then like some of that, how that unfolded, how that came to be to where you are married now. Let's start with you, Heysell. Tell me where you're from, decision to serve a mission, where you served, all those things.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born in El Salvador, which is a country in Central America. And I came to the States, moved to California when I was really, really young. And then, just kind of grew up here in California for most of my life. And I actually didn't join the church until I was 15.
Okay.
I went to girls' camp with a friend that I loved dearly. She didn't want to go alone, and I went, and I came home after that week, and I thought it was the weirdest week of my life. The amount of prayers, the amount of songs. I was like, what is going on here? But the community I loved, and it was something I desperately needed in my teenage years. So then fast forward, I ended up going to BYU, Idaho for school.
Okay.
I was there for a year. I was battling some things personally in my family life. And I swear to you, I got on my knees one day and I said I think one of the top earnest prayers I've ever said in my life. I said, Heavenly Father, I think I'm gay. I need help. I know that this isn't what's meant to be, the best or whatever. And then I just felt really inclined to go on a mission.
Really?
I was like, okay, like, let's go. Let's go on a mission, shall we? And that was kind of against my family's wishes. We value education very, very highly, and we were all new members about 3 years in.
Did you guys all join together? Family, like
Yes.
you went to girls' camp, sang the Mormon boy song, more men, more
Yes.
men. You're like, yes, of course, we've got to. Of course, this is what it is. You guys, and
Yep.
then you all joined together. Okay.
Yeah, we were with the missionaries for about 3, almost 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Because my parents just didn't want me to do it by myself. I was ready. Like after a couple months, I was like, I'm good, let's go. But you can't do it when you're underage.
Was family religious and they were just like, this is so different from our Catholic upbringing or whatever it was, and they didn't? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, and culturally, it just wasn't anything that we were used to. along with the religion. Like we weren't devout Catholics. We were, culturally Catholic for the
Sure,
most part.
sure.
But yeah, it was just very, very strange to them. They're like, what do you mean? Like, wait, what? So it
Hmm.
took my parents 3 years and I just kind of sat along with them. Like, I'm ready when you are. Like, we're good to go. And then the three of us, because my brother wasn't of age yet, me, my dad, and my mom got baptized on the same day, all three
Oh,
of us.
cool. Oh, cool. And that's in California.
Yes, that is
Very
correct.
cool. Okay. Okay. So then you're at BYU, Idaho. You've gone there for about a year. You're like, listen, this is hard. Some people will describe, if they're like, I think I might be gay. I bet if I just work really hard, I can work my way out of it. Do you think that that was a component of what you were experiencing?
For sure.
Hmm.
Just because I wasn't necessarily opposed to being gay, but culturally, I knew that would be really hard for my family.
Sure.
And I wasn't in the church long enough, but I understood the magnitude of saying you were gay and being in the church and what that would entail.
Hmm.
And I just panicked. I was a good kid, and I was the convert who made all these decisions, went to BYUI, like full sent it, got sent to the middle of Podunk, Idaho, willingly to get an education, because that mattered to me so much. So then going on a mission was hard for my mom because we immigrated here together.
Oh.
And her entire goal for me was to get an education. That was her inheritance to me, was
Hmm.
if I can give you anything in this world, it is your education. So
Jeez.
me dropping school to do that was a big no-no.
Was there any sort of question in her mind about the about being gay with you as you've had the opportunity to have a conversation? She's like, well, we didn't know, or we maybe sort of suspected. Some parents will say had no idea. Other parents
Right,
will be like, we were just waiting for you to figure it out. We've known since.
right. Yeah, that's a great question. I just talked about this with my parents recently, and
Mhm.
they were like, we always knew, but we were just like, if she never says it, that's great. Like, if she never says it out loud and never talks about it, phenomenal. We'll move on with the life. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I knew that they knew. Like, it wasn't a matter of question, really.
Uh, a question I have because I'm not very familiar within like Latin American culture, is that pretty accepted? Is being gay pretty accepted within Latin American culture? No, no.
No, it's very much illegal.
Okay. In
In a
El
lot of
Salvador?
countries. Yes, like now it's better, but a couple of years ago it was very much illegal and you would
Okay.
go to jail, and in some countries you can get killed for it.
Oh, geez.
So it's not something that's very happily accepted. And within the Catholic Church, similar with, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, it's just more like you can be there, but don't talk about it. Don't
Right.
do anything about it.
Right.
But you can sit in the pews and, and worship as you please.
Yeah. Yeah. A question for you. You use the term gay. Some people use the term same-sex attracted. Is that an intentional choice to say I'm gay as opposed to same-sex attracted? And how come the choice for you? And don't worry, Cami, I'll ask you the same question here coming up in a minute.
No, that's a great question. And at the very beginning, I did say same-sex attracted because that's what the church used.
Hmm.
It was a very common phrase. Prior to my mission, I was reading in the gospel library, and there's a whole section on same-sex attraction. I
Hmm.
read that thing top to bottom. I read the Gay and Mormon website top to bottom. I watched podcasts. I did everything. And I used same-sex attraction because I felt like it was the only way that other people would understand me. Like they wouldn't understand if I said I'm gay. They would
Hmm.
understand if I said, oh, I struggle with same-sex attraction.
Hmm. Hmm. All right. So you get the mission call and you get called to.
I get called to Carlsbad, California, so
Okay.
Southern California.
Yeah. So you're in California. You're like, well, I couldn't even go to another state for crying out loud.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And it actually took at the time, it took me 4 months to get my call. At the time, they were giving them out in like a couple weeks.
Hmm.
Yeah. And it was just a weird thing. And everybody was like, what's going on? And I was like, oh my goodness, if they get lost in the mail, phenomenal. I don't have to go anymore. That sounds great.
Yeah.
That's what I was
Perfect.
like, please.
Yeah, I was willing. That's all that matters. Whether or not I actually get called,
Exactly.
I was willing.
Exactly.
Okay, well, let's press pause on your timeline. Cammy, tell me a little bit about you, raised, experience, what made you decide to go on a mission, etc. Let's hear about you for a little bit.
Yeah. I'm the basic Utah girl. Born and raised in Riverton, Utah.
There you go. Go
Um,
Silver Wolves, right?
yep, Silver Wolves. Yeah. My parents, grew up members of the church, both of them. My mom, a little bit later in life, became active, and they actually met on their missions in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
And yeah, they, raised us in the church. I have three sisters. They all still live in Utah. Um, and I went to my first year of college. I went to Utah State University before my mission.
Mhm.
But pretty much all growing up, it was just like a lot of people say they had to pray about going on a mission or like they had to make the decision. I never made a decision. I just like knew that was going to be what I was going to do for
Yeah,
some reason. I
no
think
questions. You're like, I'm
none.
going. It's just it's the next thing. I'll go for a year,
Yeah,
then I'll go on a mission. Okay, okay.
exactly. And my parents say that when my dad was blessing me in the church right after I was born, um, I don't know that they've told me like what my dad said. Maybe they don't remember. But during the blessing, my mom remembered getting this really clear image in her head of me as a missionary. And she brought it up to my dad after the blessing, and he was like, I felt the same way.
Mm.
And so they told me that from when I was really little. And so I was like, okay,
Yeah,
cool. That's what I'm doing.
yeah.
So yeah, that was just always in my plans. I knew I'd graduate high school, I'd go to school for a year, I'd go on a mission. So I, did my first year at Utah State and loved it. But pretty much the whole time I just had like in the back of my mind, just got to get through a year and then I'm gone. I'm going on a
Sure,
mission.
sure.
And I submitted my papers and I submitted them like a week before President Monson passed away.
Mm.
And so it was a bunch of like, oh, how long is this going to take? Because I was already antsy.
Mhm.
But a few weeks later, my call came in the mail, and my parents left it in the mailbox for me so that I could come home from school and pull it out and get the basic picture. And
Mhm.
I opened it up in front of a bunch of family and friends, and I got called to Carlsbad, California. I
Now,
was
what was that?
excited, and
Yeah, what was that experience like for you? Because at least for you,
yeah,
it's a different state. Heysell didn't get that, hey, a whole
yeah,
different state kind
True.
of thing.
exactly.
Excited? Oh, I wish I would have gone foreign.
Yeah, there's definitely that like expectation. And I think especially in Utah, there's always like, oh, stateside missions, like that's not
Mm-hmm.
as cool or that's not as like exciting. But I had always said that if I were going to go stateside, it was going to be California. For some reason, that was just
Interesting.
always like, if it's going to be in the US, I'm going to go to California. I did really want to go foreign, but more than anything, I just wanted to learn a language.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the most important thing.
Yeah.
And so I got called to California, Spanish speaking.
Yep.
And so that was like, okay, I'm going to California, but I'm learning a language, so I'm chill. I'm
Yeah,
great with that.
yeah.
And I went to the Mexico MTC, so that was an amazing experience also. But
Interesting.
yeah, I was really excited.
I didn't realize that that's the case, that any stateside could go to
Yeah,
Mexico to the MTC and then could come back to the States. I didn't.
yep,
I wonder if that's still the case with how the nation is now. Is it
it
still
is.
the case? Okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. We were just talking to some missionaries the other day who did that. So, um, yeah, I went to Mexico and I loved it. And then I ended up when I sent in my papers, they have you set like an eligibility date for like when you want them to, send you out.
Hmm.
And I had set it for like 4 days after finals. Okay. I don't know why I thought that was a good
Yeah.
idea. But I was like, at this point, I am available. So,
Yeah.
I don't think they'll actually take me then. I'm just gonna say, yeah, I'm ready then. Well,
Hmm.
they did. I literally left Utah 5 or 6 days after finals. So I had to move home from Logan and
Jeez.
like get packed up for my mission. It was the most hectic week. But yeah, I went to Mexico right after that. And so yeah, that's kind of how I ended up on a mission.
Yeah, you're like, here goes life. Let's go. Interesting that your parents met on a mission in Cleveland. That's actually where I served as well,
What?
which is such a small world, and we would have probably been there about the same time. We'll get into some of that maybe as we come back. Let's take a break for a quick second. When we come back, we'll talk about both parents meeting and the fact that you guys met and how that's sort of different from how it was to how it is now. We'll come back and do that in the second block of the Cultural Hall. If you're listening to this and you're thinking, man, you know what? I could do a podcast. You should. Having a podcast has been one of the things that a lot of people have really sought out to do. Some just to see, can I even do this thing? I'm here to tell you that you can. And I have consulted lots of people to be able to do it. Now, some people, I consult them and they go, oh, this was way more than I ever thought it would be. And other people go, oh, you know what? A podcast isn't for me, but you helped me decide to do this thing. Whatever it is, maybe it will end up being a podcast, or maybe it'll just end up being that we have some great times together. You realize that it's time to do that in a different season of your life, or the season is now, you can reach out to me, contact@theculturalhall.com, and say podcast consultant, or my email address, Richie, RICHIET, Stedman @gmail.com. And be sure that you put podcast consultant in the subject line. Would love to talk to you and see if having a podcast would be the right thing for you. Here in the second block of the Cultural Hall, remember that you can become a Patreon saint of the Cultural Hall. Just go to patreon.com/the Cultural Hall, and you can make a donation so that we can continue to do the show. For as little as $5 a month, you get to be a part of the secret but not sacred Facebook group where all the Patreon saints are hanging out, and encourage you to do that. So please and thank you. Go to patreon.com/the Cultural Hall. Cami, I recognize that I did not ask you, as you were serving a mission, were you hoping to work and or pray the gay away, or were you like, no, this is just what I'm doing. I go and do this, and then this is the next thing, and hadn't given it much thought?
Yeah, it's a good question. I actually had no idea, no inclination of any sort of like difference in my sexuality. I'd only dated guys. In high school, I had only I never even thought of that as being a thing. I think part of that is probably just because that would be, I don't know, I kind of viewed it as like that would be the end of the world for for my family, for myself. Like there's no way, So no, I never thought about that. And even going on a mission, never had any sort of feelings for any women, nothing. So it was a surprise to me too.
Yeah. It's interesting how sometimes, and sometimes people would call it a sort of a strength of the gospel. I would contend with that a little bit, but when we just sort of go, and this is the next thing, and this is the next thing, there is a life that can be led by just doing the things, that if you never stop and go, why am I doing this? That there's a lot of power and strength that comes from why or why not you would do something. That sometimes when we just, do what is next expected of us, it doesn't feel very authentic to ourselves, but certainly then also, I don't know that we're leading the life that we were intended to live if we just do it because that's what we were supposed to do, or because I never thought about it, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, tremendous amount of courage and strength as far as that goes then, because I would imagine as you start to, actually, let's just go there. So then you're serving a mission, you're in Carlsbad, and who is the senior, more senior companion? How does this work out? You guys meet. Take me there.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had been on my mission already for about 7 months, and I was assigned to train.
Okay.
And I'd be going to a brand new area. And so there were like whispers around the mission. They were like, oh, this is a native Spanish speaker. She doesn't speak any English. She's
Okay.
from another country. And that's like a coveted thing for missionaries. If you get a native speaking companion, they don't speak any English, you're like forced to learn the language really quick. So I was like, wow, God loves me so much. He's blessing me with this amazing opportunity. And I had a native speaking trainer. Like her family was from Mexico, and first language was Spanish. So I already had that. But yeah, I was really excited. And when I picked her up from the mission office, she spoke perfect English.
Yeah.
Shock to everybody. And
you're like, wait, what? Wait, hold on. I was promised something different. Take back.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I'm from California. And I was like, are you serious?
Yeah.
So, but then I did learn that Spanish was her first language too. So some of it was true, but yeah, that was how we met.
So you get into the
gossip for you.
Yeah, you get into the field, Heysell, and you're like, okay, did you go to the MTC in Mexico as well?
No, I went to the Provo MTC, which I felt was like a massive cultural shock to me.
Yeah. Oh
I was not prepared to endure what I endured in that place. I had Thanksgiving there.
Oh, geez.
And I'm gonna be so honest, I had never had a white Thanksgiving in my life. And the turkey just dry, the gravy bland, and the stuffing dry. I was like, what is this? This is not what I wanted.
Yeah, you're like, I may be able to teach people and be away from family, but if the food is like this for the next 18 months, I'm out. Get me out of here.
Exactly.
So you get into the field though, and I have to imagine, Heysell, it's eyes so wide open that you're just like, you've got this thing. Do I tell people how I feel and that I'm working my way through this? Do I keep it to myself? Do I talk to the mission president? Do I feel it out? And then you're getting trained. Tell me what that was like.
Yeah. So I was like, shove it down as far as you can go.
Mm-hmm.
Like the purpose was, it was like my big promise. Like I had told God, if I serve this mission, I need you to promise me that this will be it. Like the feelings will go away. I will be able to live on with my life. I will do what is asked of me. I will achieve what I want, whether
Yeah.
it's like being alone forever or being with somebody. I was not afraid of being alone. So that was something that I was content with. So I was like, nobody's going to know. I'm not going to worry about it. Not going to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get there, and I was the only one who was Spanish speaking within the group that got sent that day.
Okay.
And it was pretty late in the day. And the group I was with actually also thought I didn't speak English. So I was like, in just on the train, going to the airport, and everybody was like, I don't think she speaks English. And I wasn't going to say anything. I was like, I'm good. Like, it's okay. I can ride this. I can ride this plane ride in silence. It's not that far. Like,
I
it's
love
no
it.
big deal.
And they're probably just speaking like louder at you, thinking that that's how things
Exactly.
translate.
Lower.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you speak English? You're like,
Ex-
listen, I'm not. Give me some snacks and let me put my blindfold on and just go to sleep.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was just chilling. So then I get to the airport, and the mission president shakes my hand. He's like, "Welcome, Hermana Cruz." I'm like, "Thank you, President Thomas." And they all look at me like, "She speaks," and I was like, "I do speak English."
Yeah. And then they all went. Then they all went. Oh no! All of the things
Exactly.
that we've
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bless their hearts,
Yeah.
truly. But yeah, it was nighttime, and we got together, and truly, I was thinking, I was like, "What have I done?"
Mm.
I was like, this is big. I was like, what have I done?
Now,
I was new to the church.
yeah, explain that. What have I done? Is it what have I done? This person that I'm assigned to is super attractive. Is it what have I done? No, I mean it. Is it what have I done? I
Yeah,
have no idea what I'm doing. Is it what have I
yeah,
done? I don't know that I believe this. Tell me what have I done
yeah,
it means.
yeah. It was a moment of like, what have I done? This is a lot. Like,
Hmm.
I'm about to do 18 months of this.
Yeah.
I was new to the church. I was
Uh-huh.
3 years in, and I was pretty surface level. I hadn't read the Book of Mormon cover to cover. I
Hmm.
had a testimony, and I was like, I'm gonna go. Like, this is what I'm gonna do. And I was taught by missionaries for years. I had a massive amount of respect for them.
Hmm.
Um, but then, like, I am not the best rule follower to an extent. Like, I like structure, but it was rigid structure.
Yeah.
And nobody in my family had done that. No, I knew nobody in my ward who had served a mission.
Hmm.
I was going in blind. I didn't know what the mission life was like at all. I didn't have parents to tell me like, oh, like missions were, like crazy and like you do all this stuff. Like I knew nothing.
Hmm.
So that was just kind of adding up. And then they had told me her name, which is Skolmosky, and
Hmm.
I thought it was Russian because I don't know any names. So I was like, oh my goodness, I have a European. This is not going to be a good time for
Yeah.
me. I was like, this is going to be hard. Um, and she comes in, and it was not love at first sight
Hmm.
whatsoever. It was very much like, I'm going to die. She might just bury me in the ground because this is not going to be fun.
Just
There's a
just
running joke.
just because of the life.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
because of the life. And
Hmm.
the something that she likes to talk about all the time is the first question I asked her on that first night when
Hmm.
we sat down in our apartments. I asked her, was, how seriously do you take the rules?
The very first question.
Yeah, great, great.
Blood drains out of my face. I'm like, oh no.
Uh, how did you answer that?
I think I said something along the lines of like, I consider myself a very obedient
Yep.
missionary.
Hmm.
I think that was the
Okay.
best thing I could think to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
It was my way of gauging her seriousness.
Hmm.
Like I was like, I can match your level, but I need to know where you're at. And
Yeah.
there's no other cookie cutter way. Like I can go around this for a couple weeks and figure it out. No, I'm
Hmm.
just gonna ask you straight out.
Hmm.
What is it like? What are you like? How are we gonna do this?
Okay.
And then I feel horrible for this, but it's a joke. I called her Nazi Skolmoski
Oh,
for
geez.
my first transfer.
Okay.
Yes. We were not best friends. We did not like each other. I thought she was crazy. She was so rigid and stubborn. I was like, you need to relax. I was like, this is too much. We are still 19. We are still human. Yes, we can do the rules, but we're still just kids. Like we are kids on a mission, right? That's really all it is.
I did not see it that way.
Yeah, I need to know how you see it because I think I was probably more like you, Cami. I was like, listen, if I'm going to be here, the rules say get up at 6:30, so I'm going to be up at 6:30 because if I'm not going to do that, why am I doing this thing? Was it family driven, the expectation that you'd placed upon yourself? Was it guilt? What was it that made you become Nazi Skamolsky?
Good question. I think part of it was like I did grow up in a very structured household, and my
Okay.
parents had really high expectations of us. And so, yeah, I did do really well. Maybe I wouldn't say really well, but I was very used to having high expectations, like lots of rules, lots of structure in my life. And so, yeah, it was like do or die for me. You don't like if you don't follow the rules, you're disobedient.
Yeah.
You don't deserve to be a missionary.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be here. Like that's how I saw it. And so I was terrified of her, and I did not know like how to train her in a way that like I didn't want her to hate me,
Sure.
but I also was
Sure.
like, I'm not compromising my obedience to
Right.
be.
But it sounds like you guys stayed together for more than one transfer and that there was that shift. So what changed? What shifted?
Yeah. We were together for 3 transfers. So
Which is how long? Because when I served, that would have made 4.5 months. If
yep.
you guys, is that okay?
Yeah.
Yep, 4.5 months.
Boy.
Yeah, it was a long time. And
It was.
I didn't have actually my trainer I was with for that long. But that's pretty uncommon. I think elders, it's more common to stay with a companion that long, but sisters, you're not usually since our
Mhm.
missions are shorter. So it was like the first transfer was very much getting the hang of like being together. I at one point had completely accepted the fact that she was going to go home, and
Mhm.
I was being okay with like it's
Yeah.
not my fault. I didn't
Yeah.
do anything wrong.
I
Like
did
if
all
she
that
goes
I could,
home,
Heavenly Father.
exactly,
Yep.
Quite
exactly. And
literally.
so I was like, that's fine. She can go. I did what I could.
Yeah.
But she stayed,
Mhm.
and we did a second transfer together. And during that second transfer, first we were in an apartment that was like infested with cockroaches, and that
Oof.
like it kind of like opened us up a little bit because it was like hilariously terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that sort of broke the ice. And then once we moved into a really, really nice little ADU behind a bishop's house.
Okay.
And during that time, the area was difficult. There wasn't a lot of work, not a lot of people to teach. We were covering both English and Spanish. And so there's a really big area that we were covering.
Mhm.
And so a lot of the time we passed, it was driving, it was walking around. It wasn't a lot of like lessons and talking to people. And so
Sure.
we had a lot of time to just talk to each other.
Okay. Okay. And so this is during the second transfer. Did you see any sort of softening, Hazel, with her being like, "Oh, okay, she doesn't think I'm an apostate." That was the term we always threw around. Yeah, she's
Uh-huh.
apostate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
I genuinely think she thought I was that, and I didn't know what that was. Like, there was a
Mhm.
lot of new things
Oh
to
yeah,
me.
mission lingo.
Yeah.
Unless you're born in the church, you
I
have
was
no
like,
idea
what is
it
that?
means.
Yeah.
I was like, sure. I thought she said apostle, and I was like, cool. I guess you
Yeah.
can call me that.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's fine. But so you see a softening though within that second transfer. Get to the new place. The work is really hard. For anyone that served a mission, having that time when the work is really hard, man, if it is hard with your companion, it is a thing where every day you wake up and you just go, can I do this another day?
Yes.
And then you
Yeah.
find your way through it, and then, maybe you get transferred or the work starts to improve or whatever the thing is. But you see a softening within her being like, okay, rules are still important, but I'm a human being and so are you.
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much. During that second transfer, I was like, well, I'm here, I was like, might as well. Like, I'm with her 24/7. Like,
Hmm.
let me ask her about her life. And like, yeah, during those car rides, I would just ask her questions and try to get to know her and be like, we're stuck with each other. Like, the least I can do is like be courteous and respectful and
Hmm.
care. So I did. And it was like, it made her softer, but she made me more like care
Hmm.
about things,
Yeah.
things that I was just so nonchalant about that I just didn't know any different. And she was so graceful in the sense of, like I said, I hadn't read the Book of Mormon cover to
Hmm.
cover. I didn't know a lot of the stories. I literally had the mission, like lessons, the missionary lessons in my head, and that was my extent of knowledge of the church.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Like it didn't go deeper than that. And I learned a lot of new things, and she was so kind to like break things down for me and be like, hey, like this is what we mean, this is what we're talking about. I never felt stupid, which a
Good.
lot of other people made me feel a little bit like that
Hmm.
just because I didn't know,
Hmm.
so it was like she was just so kind, and I was like, I can reciprocate that.
So, from talking with gay individuals that I've visited with before, they express that sometimes they sort of test the waters a little bit with questions, where it'd be like, something like, I mean, like, what about like a woman? Have you ever thought about that? Not that I ever have. I just want to be clear. Not that I ever have, but I mean, was there ever any of that where you're just like, man, you know what? I relationally, not like a relationship, but relationally, this is someone that you are with constantly. This is a part that you're holding back from them. Was there ever a part where you're like, I'm gonna maybe let a little of this seep out just to see how the response is? Oh, retreat, or oh, it's safe. I can let a little bit more of that out. Or did you do any of that kind of stuff?
That's a good question. I don't think I ever did it necessarily directly that way, but I grew up in the like Northern California. Like I was pretty like liberal, like, like accept everybody. My friend group, none of us were the same race. A lot
Hmm.
of us spoke different languages. I was comfortable with that. I was
Hmm.
comfortable with a lot of different things. So we would bring up topics that I would also see in Southern California. Um, and I could tell that she just didn't have an answer for some things because she
Yeah,
had never seen it.
sure.
So I was just like, how do you feel about, like gay individuals? And it was just kind of like a broad question of like, I'm curious to know what she thinks of that.
Yeah.
Not necessarily inclined towards me, but just like
Yeah.
curiosity for her exposure level. That's
Mm,
really what I just wanted to know.
yeah. And being from Utah, assuming at this point that you've now gone home, you're like, oh, this is why you didn't know anything about anything. Everything in Utah is sort of this homogeneous, we all look the same, everybody understands the terminology and stuff like that. When she's talking to you about that, Cami, are you like, man, I don't know. I guess there's a lot of stuff I don't know. Was it exciting to be thinking about all those things? That's one of the things I loved about my mission. Or was it just like, get up at 6:30, go to bed at 9:30. Why are we talking about other things? Let's just get to work.
Yeah. I think it actually made me start realizing how little I was aware of the world,
Hmm.
like how little I knew about outside of the bubble of Utah. I mean, I had already just barely started to, be exposed to diversity for the
Yeah,
first time in my life
sure.
and a language and culture that I didn't know. And
Yeah.
so that was already a shock to my system. But then, yeah, having someone ask me difficult questions that I had only ever heard answers for from my parents or, people around me, like political things or, just in general, things that happen in society. Like I just didn't have any opinions of my own. I only
Hmm.
had the ones that I'd been told all growing up and the ones that I'd heard. And so, yeah, it really made me start to question, like, what do I believe if,
Hmm.
you know, like someone my age from just a different state thinks this way? Like, why do I feel the way that I do? Why do I have the opinions that I do? So it made me start to be a little bit more introspective. And I think that kind of kick-started a lot of like growth that I was about to go through for the rest
Sure,
of my mission.
sure. And this is so now we lead into a third transfer, and is at this point where, like, as the kids would say, I started to catch feelings a little bit, or is this not something that happened at all on the mission, and that was a much a different time?
It honestly, if it did, it didn't register to us.
Okay,
Like
okay.
because of the bubble of what is a mission,
Hmm.
it was just much like survival mode.
Yeah.
Like truly, like no, I kid you not. Like I was in pure survival mode because it
Hmm.
was so different and it was such a culture shock to me. That I was everything was just so complex and so intricately thought about.
Hmm.
Where it was like, I am just here. I'm talking about Jesus Christ, happy to gladly walk the streets and talk to people, do service. Like that's what I'm here. I'm here to serve. That was my favorite thing. It was like those first three, like I am called to serve.
Hmm.
That's it. What that entails is different for everybody, but that's how I took it. Um, and yeah, I wouldn't say in the mission it was like, oh my goodness, I'm in like no. It was more like I have a really good friend and
Yeah,
Hmm.
I
best friends.
and we grew into these, from enemies to friends type of situation.
Sure.
And I just had a lot of respect for her and I cared a lot about her because she was going through some really hard things and her safety and well-being mattered a lot to me. So it was more about like protecting her than anything else.
And when you say hard things, that's just like the figuring out how you felt about particular things, or
No, I was having some pretty severe mental health challenges at the time.
okay, okay. And it's interesting to even have you bring that up. That was something that we didn't talk about when I served. It was like if you had mental health issues, it was very quickly like labeled and shipped out, or you oftentimes wouldn't even be able to serve. So sorting through all that, found your way through, and she was kind of there to care for and be there for you. So then the time comes, you guys separate, and then you still have some more of your mission, Cami, and then you serve and go home, and then Heysell, you continue to serve, and then you come home. So then I have to know what it was like, where it was like, hey, you're home. Crazy thought. Just throwing this at you. I mean, I gave you a lot to consider. We talked politics,
Right.
dropping into the DMs. Who made that first move, and how did that work, and how was that received? And let's go there.
Yeah, if I may.
Hmm.
She was dating somebody. She was like thinking about marriage.
This was a boy.
Yeah, I
Yes,
figured. I
yes.
That
figured.
Oh,
wasn't
sorry.
clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was in Utah. I was in California. I was back home. This is like pre-COVID, like
Yeah.
a
Okay.
couple months before COVID really came and shut down the world. And she was dating somebody, and she had told me that she was considering marrying this individual.
Hmm.
And when I tell you that my heart dropped to the floor,
Mm.
it was unlike anything I had ever felt. I couldn't even speak. I was speechless.
Hmm.
And that never happens. I'm always happy to yap. So it was like I was speechless. I was just like, there's just a big knot in my throat. And it was right after that I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, I like her. This is not good. And I never said anything. I was like, if that's what you want, like I support you. I
She
just,
didn't
Sure.
even talk to me after that, though.
Yeah,
She wanted to go like,
it's
okay,
true.
we can't be friends anymore.
Yeah,
And
I
like,
was
what?
fully prepared to be like, if you go forward with this, we cannot be friends.
Yeah.
Because I just wouldn't be able to have handled that.
Yeah,
Like I
too
don't think
hard.
I would have been able exactly.
Yeah.
So and we were in separate states and separate lives. I was like, that shouldn't be hard, right? I'm very good at like cutting and loose in type of situation.
Sure.
But I was like, if you do this, like I will love you, support you. I'm super happy for you. But I don't think we can be friends. And that was just like kind of a turning point for me.
Okay. Now, before I get to the response that Cami had to that, had you ever kind of had a crush or had like these strong feelings for a woman previously, where you like recognized and went, "Oh, there is something to this," or was this sort of a first time?
I had in the past, like in high school,
Okay.
but it was very much of like, is it? Like every self-doubt in my mind was like,
Sure.
maybe we're just really good friends, and I
Right.
just don't want to think anything different of it. And it was a little bit similar at BYU Idaho, but it wasn't as obvious.
Hmm.
I had tried dating men at BYU Idaho, but it was just so like it was just so different. And I was like, this is not pleasant whatsoever. And I felt so bad for the
Sure.
guys. I was like, I am here like halfway in, halfway out. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, it has nothing to do with you, but
Yeah.
every person I encountered, it was just like not it for me.
Yeah. So she tells you, Cami, hey, yeah, great, go for it. Totally support you, and also will never talk to you again if you
Yeah,
decide to go
goodbye.
forward. Yeah, peace out. So I mean, obviously you didn't end up with that guy, but how did you receive it, and what did that, what did you take from that then?
I had a similar response to the one that she had when I told her. It was just pure devastation. Like I didn't realize that, telling her that was going to end up this way. And so I was like, no, I'm not ready for that. Like
Mm-hmm.
for some reason, I just feel like we have a connection that I could not live without. Like I don't know how to live without you at this point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And at by then, like I actually continued to date this guy for like 2 more months.
Okay.
But I think part of it was because I was living in Rexburg, he was going to school in Utah still, and so like there was distance, and it was just like out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
So we weren't really dating, it was just
Sure.
like long distance. And I wasn't seeing her either. I was just on my own. And during that time, I'm starting up school again. I'm trying to figure out like what to do, and we go through some periods during then of like she's trying to set some distance and boundaries, and I'm like trying to push back because I don't want space. I'm like, I don't want you to go anywhere. I don't want you to leave me.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up breaking up with this kid because I was like, the things that I'm feeling for her are different than what I feel like I should be feeling for this kid that I'm dating. Like I feel like
Mm-hmm.
if I'm going to marry him, I should be having this exact same inability to be away or like
Mm-hmm.
wanting to constantly be with him, to talk to him, things like that. And I just didn't have that. And
Hmm.
so I was like, there's something different here that, I haven't had before.
But I'm not hearing you say like, oh, but maybe I think I'm in love with her, or maybe I think I'm gay. At some point, that had to have hit you where you're like, now hold on one second. I've never thought about this way. So when did that happen?
I'm gonna be honest, I never even had the thought of like, I'm gay. I honestly think it was just like, I love her.
Hmm.
That was it. And it was just
Yeah.
her. Like I don't know that if she were out of the equation, if I would ever have a relationship with another female. I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've never thought about that. I never had at that point either. And honestly, to me, it feels much more like people that I have an emotional connection to,
Yeah.
I'm attracted to. And so
Yeah.
that's the more important thing to me. It's never really been about gender, I guess, as I've like come to understand myself.
Hmm.
So yeah, I never even admitted that. I still don't even have a label for myself. I just
Yeah.
consider myself queer. It's the overarching, name.
Sure.
And so that's sort of how that happened.
Yeah, that's interesting. As I hear your story, like I like to it, and I hate labels. I just like to be like, oh, you're in love. That's it.
Yep.
Like we don't
Yeah.
even have
Yep.
to say queer. It's like, oh, she's in love with a person who loves her and cares for her. All right.
Yeah.
All right, two in love
Exactly.
people. Oh, we got to put it in a
Yeah.
box so then we know how to treat the box and
Exactly.
have the box be
Box
this
it
way and
makes
the
me
this.
feel
Exactly.
comfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to take another break. When we come back in the third block, the choices that you guys make obviously have impact on each of you, and then also there's some like relationship with the church that if not strained, people go, wait a minute, family and the way that they receive that, both culturally and all of that. I want to get into that. We'll come back and do that in the third block of the Cultural Hall. The turning of another year makes me start to think about how I have not done one of these ads for Best DJ in Utah in over a year. I'm sorry, everyone, but it means business is good. It means you should hire Best DJ in Utah. Why, that's me, and I even have people that work for me, trained by me, affordable, and travel all over. Literally all over. Going to Florida this year, for instance. And this year means 2026, not this year, which could have been several years in the past, like we've been doing. You can go to bestdjinutah.com, or you can go and find us on our Google business page. It's Best DJ in Utah. You will see that as of the recording of this, almost 700 five-star reviews. Find out what so many listeners of the Cultural Hall have already found out. I'm great at parties. I'm great in your ear holes, but I'm also great at parties. So find out if I'm available for your date. We can help you out. Weddings, baptisms, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, funerals. I'll do a funeral. Best DJ in Utah. Here in the third block of the Cultural Hall, remember you can always send us an email, contact@theculturalhall.com. Great way to get in touch with us. You wake up in the middle of the night and think, oh, I'd love for them to speak to this guest. You can send that along, contact@theculturalhall.com. I really liked this particular episode. You can send that along. Maybe you think you might be a good guest. You can send that, contact@theculturalhall.com. Please and thank you. Appreciate all those emails that get into our inbox. And then also should let you know that if you do not want it read on the show, the first line of your email should say, do not read this on the show. When you make it the last line of the email, I read your whole email and then it says, do not read this on the show, and I'm not editing it out. So contact@theculturalhall.com. It has impact. It has consequences seem so heavy-handed, but the choice to choose one another, to choose the love that you feel for one another, we'll use consequences for the sake of this conversation, right?
Yeah.
I would love to know each of your experiences where you go, oh, hey, this is something more, and taking it to maybe first of all yourself, then family, and then each other's family, and what that reception has been like for good or for bad. So, Heysell, let's go to you. You're like, hey, yeah, I'm not talking to you anymore. And she's like, wait, I don't want that. Let me dump this boy. Hey, what about this? What about this lady? And then you go,
Right.
oh, there's got to be some sort of reckoning where it's like, oh, okay, she feels the same way. Now what?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. I think after like the whole I'm not talking to you anymore, I realized I was gay.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of like oh, what am I going to do with that information?
Mm-hmm.
And then I was fully prepared to be alone. Like I just not deal with it and like
Mm-hmm.
live my life as I please and be alone. Like I was content with that.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward a couple months, we end up at BYU Idaho together. And she was at home, and then I was at BYU Idaho, and she came up for a week, and I took her on a week-long date without
Mm-hmm.
even really realizing it was a date.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't until after I was like, oh my goodness, I think I just planned like a whole week-long date. Like
Yeah.
I had put so much effort into her like being there and visiting, and I was like, I have never put this much effort into anybody. And I had dated in the past. I was like, this is what people are talking about. Right. When I heard my
Mm-hmm.
friends saying like, oh, like I just want, to give them the best and like show them around and things like that. I just never understood that until then.
Mm-hmm.
And then more months later, we went on a cross-country trip right before, like middle of the pandemic, everything was closed. We went with our best friend and we went around different countries and national parks.
Okay.
States, not
Oh,
countries, just
oh,
states.
sorry, yeah, different states, not countries. What the heck? And we were together 24/7. It was like being a missionary all over again,
Mm-hmm.
but without the confinement of a mission life.
Sure.
And it was more like, could this be a thing? Like in my brain, I was just thinking, I was like, could this be a thing? And it was a battle of back and forth of yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And my biggest worry was, I'm okay with being gay, like knowing where I'm from,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew her parents and I
Mm.
knew like her upbringing,
Uh-huh.
and it would break my heart to separate her from that.
Mm.
Like I couldn't bring myself to be in the middle of that situation. So I withheld like my feelings close to my chest as much as I possibly could. And try not to be obvious about it, even though I like very much was, just for the sake of like the relationship she had with her family. I
Mm-hmm.
just didn't want to ruin that whatsoever. And I just kind of like let it be for a good long time.
Any part of this road trip, or are you going up? Are you like, hey, maybe this is a thing, or like thinking this is for Cammy? Are you thinking, man, I love her, and this is a different kind of love, and this is post this guy, and I'm like, when does the dam break, ladies? That's what I want to know. At some point, someone reached out and grabbed the hand of the other person, and in an instant, it went, this is now tangibly different. Now what?
Well, it was after that trip, we'd spent so much time together,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like I mean, getting outside of the Rexburg bubble, the Utah bubble, the mission bubble, like
Mm-hmm.
this was like our first time in the world. It
Mm-hmm.
was like we were, coming out into a new a new world that we'd never seen and getting to do it together, even if we weren't like, being affectionate or like being in a relationship because we weren't at the time, it still was like, wow, I really enjoy doing things with this person.
Yeah.
And like, we're having a really good time. And we can, like, nobody knows us here. We can be whoever we want to be and we can do whatever we want to do. And it felt really refreshing after
Mm-hmm.
not being able to do that for so long. And we acted differently, like while we were on that trip. We were much more open and free, and our best friend Jack that was with us, like we didn't tell him at the time that either of us were questioning any of it or our sexuality, but yeah, it was after that trip, a couple of months, and we were roommates at this point. And so Heysell has a hearing loss, and so at nighttime, if the lights are off, she can't
Mm-hmm.
hear. She reads lips.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time, we would end up like squishing our beds together so that we could talk at night.
Okay.
And one night we were just like chatting in bed. It was really late. And she she tells me, she's like, I've really been thinking and like I've been praying about this a lot. And I really feel like something is like different here. And I want to try dating. Like I feel like at this point we basically are. So all
Mm-hmm.
it is putting, like a label on it. And I fully expected myself to say no because she said, like, will you be my girlfriend? And I did not think that I would ever say yes to a question like this, but I said yes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, from that night on, it was like, I mean, we never broke up.
Yeah.
We were still together, I guess. And yeah, after that, it was like we just put a label on the thing that we already were. And it was nothing changed. It just felt like we grew more together. And so I guess that was the dam, was she just was brave enough to ask the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, knowing that you kept a whole plane ride of people in suspense whether or not you spoke English or not, if you come to find out, Cammie, in years from now, she doesn't actually have a hearing loss and that she wanted to just be closer as a ploy to be able to get closer to you, that would be hilarious. I'm not accusing you of that, but I would fully love it.
I
It's
would
like,
do that though.
no, we have to. I
Yeah,
can't read lips. You're gonna have to get closer.
exactly.
I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
I absolutely would.
I totally would.
If I hadn't seen her hearing tests, I would definitely suspect. But
Yeah.
Yeah, but I will say though, on our trip, there was we were in Arkansas, and
yeah, Hot Springs, Arkansas. There's a
yeah,
national park there.
yeah,
Okay.
and we were like, we would be in the Airbnb, we'd be in the same room, and we were used to being in the same room. And I just distinctly remember that night, and we actually have a picture of that night. And it was when I knew.
Mm.
I knew I loved her.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was no ands, ifs, or buts. Um, and it was like a hit to the chest, like truly. Like I just laid next to her and I was like, oh my goodness, I love this individual.
Mm-hmm.
Like not like as a sister, like I am in love with her. And this could go one of two ways. But I kept it internally for months, right?
Sure.
So this is like July,
2 months.
July, August, September, October is when I asked her, when I finally like got the courage to ask her, because it was like if she says no, friendship is over. As you're learning, I'm a do or
Yeah,
die kind of
yeah,
person.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. In or out, we're done. So, so,
Exactly.
so there's still then, she says yes. She doesn't think she's ever going to say yes. You guys are great. You're able to be different places where you can be whoever you want. And then we have to come home at some point and have to be like, oh, hey, your mission companion. Wait a minute. Wait, I'm sorry, what? And especially where your parents, Heysell, said, yeah, they'd sort of, suspected it a little bit growing up. You had been engaged or almost engaged to a gentleman, Cammie, and then you're like, hey, spoiler, just a little quick aside, family. I love this person so much. How did that go? Did you do it solo? What was the reception like?
Yeah, we actually dated in secret for a little over a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We stayed in Rexburg. We were just best friends. We were
Uh-huh.
just roommates. We were
You were
just
just
really good
roommates.
friends,
You guys totally
Yeah.
Exactly.
broke the rules, air quotes, of
Yes.
course, of BYU Idaho. You're like, nah,
Yeah.
listen, we're good. We're just roommates.
Yeah,
It's fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
no big deal.
Yeah. I mean, she would come home with me to Utah to see my family for like weekends. I'd go home and, she'd come with me. So my family all knew her really well. And yeah, we spent that year just sort of in our little bubble, we called it. Nobody else knew. But we talked for a while about like finally saying something to our parents and like any other friends and family. And I know we told a few friends before we told our parents, just to kind of, we wanted to like practice it a little, see how it went down, test the
Sure.
waters a little bit.
Sure.
I told, I think I told my sisters before I told my parents, but I went on an internship trip to Costa Rica in the winter of 2022 for about a month and a half. And while I was there, I thought it was a really good time because there was so much distance between me and my family. I'm going to come out while I'm gone.
Oh, perfect.
So I did.
Uh-huh.
So I called my mom while I was there, and I told her, and I think it would have like maybe gone down differently if I had done it with just saying like, just telling her what my sexuality was, or that I, wasn't straight. But I kind of led with like, oh, I'm actually dating Heysell, and that was really difficult for my mom, mostly because like she had allowed her in her home, and she felt like it was like she trusted both of us, and we betrayed her trust for not
You
telling
guys had
her
been deceptive by not
right,
telling
Right.
her. Okay.
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
that's sort of how she felt. So I felt really bad about that. I wish that things had been done differently, but so that was hard for her to accept. My sisters, they were just like, yeah, we know Heysel, we love her, it's fine. Some of my family members did send some like preachy messages and were like, you're leaving behind everything you ever knew, you taught, you're going against God's will, things like that. So that was difficult for a while. I had to have some space from my family for all of us to process coming out and what that entailed now, since it wasn't just about me being gay, it was I'm already in a relationship.
Yeah.
And telling them, and it had been for a year, like they were
Yeah.
pretty bothered by that.
Sure.
So yeah.
You mentioned mom telling dad, okay, not okay, super angry. We don't talk about dad, and I shouldn't have asked about it.
They No, it's okay. They
Okay.
they responded. So my mom told my dad on that phone call because he came home while I was talking to her and she was really emotional. And so she told him right then. So I never actually got to tell my dad.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, so he found out then, and both of them responded similarly, just
yeah.
very much like gospel centered, and um, that was the only response they could really give me.
Yeah. Your family Heysell sort of expecting it, and they know Cammy as well. Okay, it's weird for us culturally, but we love you. What was their response?
Yeah, so I like in my family, it was always well known that if I were to ever bring somebody home or talk about somebody, it
Hmm.
was because I was serious.
Hmm.
Like that was something my mom knew very well of me and something I like said very proudly and loudly. So I actually wrote my mom a letter. She was the
Hmm.
one that mattered to me the most. I wrote her a whole letter and I knew she was at work and I had called her receptionist and said, "Hey, I need you to print out this letter for me." And she was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Print it out for me, put it on her desk."
No
And she,
questions. Print it
yeah,
and
she
give
was
it
like,
to her. Don't ask
"Okay,
questions.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, truly." And she's like, "Okay." I was like, "I don't care if you read the letter. She might need a friend after she
Yeah.
reads that letter."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Okay." Reads the letter. I'm waiting for a couple hours. And I knew that she had already read it. And I
Hmm.
know my mom well enough that she needed time.
Sure.
So it was a couple hours later, and I got a text from her. She was like, "I got your letter." And I hadn't said anything. I had just said that I'm gay and that I'm dating somebody wonderful, yada yada.
Yeah, she didn't say it was me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't say it was her. Um, and my mom was trying really hard to be like neutral, I guess I
Yeah.
should say. Like I could tell it was hard for her, but she was like, "Okay, like this is new, you know." Like they might expect it, but doesn't mean they ever want to hear it,
Yeah.
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So that was
Hmm.
kind of
Hmm.
the known information. It was just kind of like that, and it was hard emotionally. But one of the biggest things I think that saved me was one of my first lines in the letter was, "I've had 23 years to process this.
Hmm.
I'm not expecting you to process this today."
Hmm.
That was really important to me, and it was the only thing that kept me grounded because it was hard. Like a lot of things were said, um, and it was just like big words at each other, and it was a really hard processing moment. Um, and then when I told her, she had asked me, she was like, "Who are you dating?" I had told her it was Cammy. That was hard for her too,
Hmm.
just because it's like, wait, what? Like your mission companion? Like it was just kind of like, no, like that doesn't make sense, right? Because it goes against the church rules.
Hmm. Hmm.
And my parents weren't like super in with all like the church understanding,
Sure.
but that was like they just couldn't fathom that. So
She
that
knew at least enough that that was against
they
the
were like,
rules.
"That's not right. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
how are we gonna explain this to other people?" I think that
Sure.
was the hardest part. It was like, how do you
Yeah.
want us to talk about this to other people?
Right.
Like how are we gonna defend ourselves from this and
Hmm.
things like that?
Hmm.
And that took a long time for them to kind of come to terms with,
Mhm.
for them to be like, "Oh, okay," and then we didn't talk about it. It was very much true in true Hispanic fashion. Swept it
Hmm.
under the rug. We don't talk about it. Like,
Hmm.
"Hey, how are you? How's school going? Okay, great. Have a good night. Move on
Yeah.
with your life."
Yeah. How are you guys on time? Are we all right as far as time goes?
Yep.
Okay. I would love to. Oh, let's take another break. We don't often do this, but there's a whole section of this that I want to talk about, and I don't want to rush through it. So let's take another break. Maybe this will be a part of a bonus episode. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it, but we'll take a break. We'll come back, and I want to know. We get to where we've told family, and then what happens? We lead to marriage, and now today. So that'll be what we do coming back in. What we'll call it like a fifth Sunday episode because it's a bonus. That's what we'll call it. We'll come back and do that in just a minute. Welcome to this special bonus fifth Sunday episode of the Cultural Hall. If you have not yet listened to the first, second, and third blocks with Cami and Heysell, stop. You shouldn't listen to this. This will make no sense. You'll jump in way mid conversation and you'll be like, what are we even talking about? Who are these people? If you are subscribed, thank you for doing that, but go back an episode and then come back and listen to this. So, hey, yeah, I've got I'm dating and it's my mission companion. How are we going to tell people? Oh, I wish that you would have been maybe a little bit more forthright with it. And on some level, you guys are like, well, we didn't really know, so we didn't, we couldn't tell you what we didn't really know yet. Spoiler, it ends in marriage. That's a large leap for anyone from dating to marriage. Anyway, there's some religious repercussions that come from we're just dating to now we're married. I'd love to know what upped the level, what made it to say, hey, you know what, we're not only gonna date, and you've not only been my best friend and my biggest support, but now we're gonna make this outwardly official, legally binding.
Yeah. We were still in Rexburg for the rest of 2022 and into 2023. So we had some more time in that bubble. And so it was kind of like we sort of felt stagnant there. Like there was no real growth opportunities. Once we graduated school, it was like, when can we leave? We loved Rexburg and there was a
Sure.
lot there. But yeah, it felt like it was time for us to find something new. And she was applying to graduate schools for her doctorate in audiology. And
Okay.
so we were talking about like me going with her and what that would look like. And honestly, we never even really talked about that. Like that was just the expectation that I would go,
Yeah.
And the schools that she was applying to, there was one in South Dakota, there was one in Oregon, one in Arizona, one in San Francisco. So kind of all over the place. And we were just like seeing what would happen with those. And we visited a few of the schools. And one that we visited was in Oregon. And neither of us had ever really like visited Oregon before, but I instantly fell in love with it. I know
Mm.
she liked it, but she wasn't immediately like, wow, I love it here. But I
Mhm.
was like, I'm in love with this place. I want to live here.
Yeah.
And thankfully that place ended up, they accepted her, and it was an ideal program, just the structure of it and everything. And so that's where we ended up going. And so during the summer of 2023, we moved to Oregon. And so this was like our first step into a world where we could actually be a couple and it wouldn't be like looked at weird.
Sure.
Like Portland is weird.
Yeah.
And that's where we were. We were in the metro area. And so we were normal compared
Yeah.
to everything else.
Yeah.
So it was
People probably
refreshing.
didn't look a second time. They're just like, yeah,
No,
it's
we
this.
looked
Yeah.
normal,
They
Yeah.
honestly looked at us and were like, oh, cute, like it
Yes.
was
Yeah.
awesome. So,
Which, to be
yeah, it was
clear,
amazing.
it's worth stating out loud. You guys are cute, and it does
Oh,
appear,
thank you.
like it looks normal. I worried as I started to say that. I was like, wait a minute. No, of course. Anyway, so Portland, you're loving it. No one.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so she's doing her school. I'm working, and like we're just loving it. We're exploring a new place. We're living somewhere that just feels natural and new at the same time. So, it's not like one of us has lived there before and so the other can show the other one around. It's like we're exploring at the same time and we are finding a new home for ourselves together. And
Mm.
so it felt like a really big growth a phase of growth for us because it was our first time on our own. We were living together and we had no one else there, no friends, no family. And so we
Mhm.
were our own
Yeah.
support system.
Yeah.
So we really had to learn to rely on each other. And I think our relationship just completely solidified within a few months of being there. And it really felt like if we can move to an entirely new state together with no one else, nothing else,
Hmm.
and start from, ground zero, then like we could do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was the most beautiful part was it was the privilege of being able to talk about my relationship.
Hmm.
Because being in Rexburg, that was like, no, like hush
Yeah.
hush. We ran the risk of not being able to finish school
Sure.
because we were in a relationship. Like, and I needed a degree. Like,
Yeah.
I enjoyed the education there. I have nothing against BYU Idaho, but per the honor code, we were not following it, right?
Hmm.
So like that was a big worry, and we just kind of kept silent for a long time, like not to sit too close to each other, like those type of things. And then going into Oregon and not having to worry about that, it was so refreshing. And I was really worried it was gonna be like, like you were just, like my only option, in
Mm.
Rexburg, but
Hmm. Hmm.
or like we built this, and it wasn't. It was
Yeah.
like a no, like I love her,
Hmm.
and I'm
Like,
choosing.
actually, this is really awesome.
Yeah, like this is great. This is
Yeah.
awesome, and I can talk about her, and people were excited for us, and we had really good friends, and it was just like right when we went to Oregon, I already had the inkling of like, I'm gonna marry her.
Mm.
Like there's no ands, ifs, or buts for me. Like I'm going to marry her. But I needed to come across some things and, logically think as I am. And then we made a trip to El Salvador, my home country.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't been back in 20 years.
Okay. Okay.
And I took her, she went with me and she met my grandmother.
Mm.
And my grandmother is Catholic of Catholic, like
Mm.
very traditional,
The
has a
candles.
rosary.
Yeah.
Yes, the candles, the
Yeah.
rosary, like says her prayers every morning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she loves her,
Mm.
absolutely loves her.
Mm.
Everybody in my family loves her. And that was like within that day, that was the summer of, I don't even know what year.
24.
Thank you. Summer of 24. Like that day, we were there just for a week because I had to do something and come right back because of school. I saw her with my family. Boom, that was it. I
Mm-hmm.
think a month later I proposed.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it was
We
just
like sort of talked about it like over time, like, yeah, we could get married, but like when? Because we didn't want to do it in the middle of school. We also didn't want to like our families were still kind of coming around, so
yeah,
we didn't want to rush them into
yeah.
anything. We wanted everyone to be able to be comfortable and happy for us and in a good place. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was just like waiting on timing, and it never felt like anything was exactly where we wanted it to be. So I was like, I don't know when we'll get married. And then yeah, after she proposed, I proposed later that week. It was like 5 days later, I think I proposed because we both wanted to do it.
Sure. You're like, hey,
and
I
we'd
get
gone
to
and
too. Hang on. I want to
Yeah.
ask you. All right.
The perks of, a same-sex relationship. Like we both get to do it. It's
Yeah.
fun.
no rules.
Yeah.
And
No
we
rules.
like picked out rings together, so like we knew it was coming. We just didn't know when.
Yeah.
And then yeah, we got engaged that summer, and we waited another till the next year to get married. We eloped in January of 2025.
Mm-hmm.
There were some fears around the incoming administration, and so we, didn't want to be in an uncomfortable situation, and we also wanted like the best of both worlds with the small intimate wedding, and then have a big celebration later,
Sure.
something for us, and then something with everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we had our own little special elopement on Cannon Beach in Oregon, and then in August of last year, we celebrated with everyone else.
From the time of moving from Rexburg, because I understand the church attendance is part of like being able to get your degree. You have to have a certain amount, once a month or something like that. And then you move to Oregon. Are you like, boy, we are not going back there now? Are you always going there once you've moved to Oregon? Talk to me about like the relationship between now it's the two of you and the church who says, oh man, it was really all right for you to think about that and maybe act a little bit on that, but not act on it as you guys are acting on it and then subsequently getting married. So what was that relationship like then when you moved, and what is the relationship with you guys and the church now?
Yeah. While we were in Rexburg, like she was still in school for most of the time we were there. So,
Mm-hmm.
She would go to church. I stopped going as regularly, I think after I graduated. I was dealing with some like difficult feelings with the church for a while. I got sent home from my mission early for my mental health struggles, and I had a lot of issues with leadership after that, with the way that was handled.
Mm.
And then like as I was coming to terms with my sexuality, and even like as I was trying to figure it out with God and with prayer and study, it felt like I was being abandoned. And so like my feelings about God and the church were just really difficult for a while. And so I was just like, that's it, I don't want to go. So I stopped going. And I would go every once in a while. If I went and visited my family at home, I'd go with them. And I still do. Like that's just something I've always done. But she continued to go. And then, yeah, moving to Oregon, they sent our records to a YSA ward. Actually, I think hers are still in Rexburg. I don't actually know.
Yeah.
Mine are probably in Oregon still. But we were in a YSA ward, and I think we went once, like right after we moved there, and we were like, no.
Try it.
Yeah, and we did not like it, and it was, we didn't enjoy it. So we ended up not going pretty much the entire time we were in Oregon. I don't think we went back.
Yeah.
Maybe went to a Spanish ward once or twice.
Yeah. It was really hard for me because I didn't feel comfortable lying
Mm.
anymore. Like in Rexburg, it was, like second nature because we had to.
Yeah.
Sure.
But when we got to Oregon, we were comfortable and we were happy and content. And going to the ward and lying just didn't sit right with me.
Sure.
And then the limited participation that comes with that, because we were living together. I think maybe if we weren't living together, like we would have been able to do, standard like church responsibilities, but that was kind of heartbreaking for me. And that was where I was like, I don't know if I want to go to church where they tell me I can't say the prayer, or I can't be like a teacher, which I absolutely love to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like I'm gonna go in there, and scream like apostate like I did like on the mission, right? Like I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna read like the come follow me and the scriptures as they're written.
Mm-hmm.
And be respectful for that. Like that's something I really value. But I think it's important to have differing opinions, but I didn't feel like that would be valued at the time. So that's why I chose to step away. Like I was never necessarily angry with the church. It was more like I'm sad. I'm sad I can't do the same things just because I'm choosing to love somebody of the same sex who I like love dearly and respect dearly and follow all the guidances that they tell us to do with our spouses. She just happens to be a female.
Yep.
Right. Was a discussion from leadership about, you're talking about, I assume not like a removal of records, but like essentially a disfellowshipped, right? Where you can come to church and you could basically be there, but you couldn't participate. Was that ever something that was like, hey, if you guys decide to come, this is how it's going to be? Or because of your knowledge of how other gay individuals had been treated when they go to church, you just sort of said, well, that's what it's going to be like for us?
We've actually never had a conversation with leadership about it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we're not disfellowshipped. We still have our records. We've never been like told specifically that we can't do things. We just know like based on policy and, my dad was in the bishopric all throughout this time. So he was always very clear about like things that were allowed and not allowed. So yeah, we just kind of knew that that's how it was going to be. And I honestly didn't even like think twice about taking the sacrament for a long time. I still did it because it just was like, I never gave it a second thought. And then one Sunday, I was at church with my parents and my mom leaned over and was like, hey, you probably shouldn't take the sacrament anymore. And I was like, oh, like I had never even thought about that. And it was like a big shock because it was like the one normalcy that I still had. And now, I'm told that I shouldn't do it. And she meant nothing negative by it. She didn't want me to feel bad, but she was like, you probably shouldn't. And there's actually a female couple in my parents' ward at home. And she brought them up as an example and was like, they don't take it, so I think you shouldn't either. So after that, it was kind of like, wow, like this really it's not the same anymore. I can't do what I normally, would. And I don't feel like I can just be me and still be a full normal member. Like I don't feel normal anymore.
And I didn't quite understand that just because I didn't know the intricacies of like policies of the church. But I had a very good friend of mine whose daughter like introduced me to the church. He was a bishop. And I like poured my heart out and I said, can you tell me the honest truth? Would you let me take the sacrament? And he looked at me and he almost cried. And he was like, I can't. Like per the rules in the church and what you've already like promised to, right? Because I had been to the temple and all these things, like you cannot take the sacrament. And it just, I could tell it was breaking his heart. And it was breaking my heart because I was like, that can't possibly be true. Like, are you kidding? Like we allow so many different people and it's like, what's the bad part in that? Like I couldn't fathom that. And he was trying so hard to just meet me in the middle and explain that to me. And then after that, I was like, okay, I guess we don't do that anymore. And that was really heartbreaking for various reasons. And it was just like, all right, so what do we do? So it's like, do we want to be in a place where like we're just there, and it's like it was hard. And that's something we continually talk about is like, do we want to be in a space like that? Even though nobody means like bad intentions or ill will, it was just of like, do we want that for ourselves?
Yeah. And interesting to note that like maybe what you want for yourselves now in 5 years could be something completely different, especially as you
Yep.
look back on your life and go, what did I want for myself 5 years ago? Different than I have now. And that's kind of a beautiful thing about life. It's an interesting thing that I don't think that you can understand unless you've experienced it. So in my early 20s when I was in college, I was excommunicated from the church and then have since been rebaptized. And when you recognize, oh, hey, these are people that don't want me there, and on some level, believing, as we've been taught, these are representatives of God saying, we don't want you there. So if these people, you know, yeah, you can be there, but you can't really be there. Like there's this awkward tension of like, well, if you don't want me, then I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
And then the other part of it, but it's like, but I don't not believe A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It's just H you've got a big problem with, you know?
Yep.
Yep.
And it's a heartbreaking scenario to be in for any number of reasons, for yours, for mine, for others, but to have that thing where you go, okay, so this is not welcome.
Yeah.
Now what?
Yep.
Uh so now let's make it a little lighter for a second. We don't have to. This may be darker the way that this goes. You guys decided to share it on social media. So at some point now you're comfortable with it and be like, I never thought my trainer would be my wife. Yada!
Yeah.
Where did we go from I don't know I want to tell anyone to hello world. Let's go here.
Yeah. Um, for the longest time, I felt so alone with things that I was dealing with. So like, first of all, being sent home early from a mission,
Sure.
super stigmatized, not
Yep.
not the most talked about thing, especially in Utah. So I had that. I was struggling with some severe mental health problems that also not talked about a lot.
Hmm.
Um, I was dealing with some difficult feelings with church leadership. I was falling for a woman. There were a lot of things where I was like, nobody knows what I am dealing with. Like, no one understands me, and I feel so alone. And um, it got to a point where I was like, I don't want anyone else to ever have to feel like no one knows what they're going through or no one understands them. I don't want anyone to feel like they're the only person in the world to go through these things.
Hmm.
So when we first moved to Oregon, I decided to start writing down like our stories, writing down everything that I could remember from the time of coming home from a mission, um, and up until that point. And while as I was like writing things down, I was like, I have a lot to say. I have a lot of things that I
Yeah.
think could be really valuable to somebody, and even if it's just for one person,
Yeah.
that is, worth it to me.
Yeah.
And so I happen to have some friends who are editors,
Hmm.
and they have like a little company, and I told them I wanted to write a book. And so they said, okay, let's start doing it. So that was in 2023, and I'm still writing it. It's in
Uh-huh.
progress.
Yeah.
But I'm almost finished. And so, like, as I've been finishing it up and the stories have started to come together, and I've realized, especially now, how important a story like this could be. Um, I want to put it out there. I want it to be visible. I want other people to see that there's a lot of nuance in church membership. There's a lot of nuance in Christianity. There's a lot
Sure.
of nuance in being a young adult in these days. Like, there's just so much room for gray in a world that wants us to live in black and white. And so I have really just wanted to share that with other people who may have similar experiences. And since I started sharing on social media, those experiences have been sent to my DMs ridiculously quickly.
Hmm.
Like, I have so many people who've reached out since who have said, like, I thought I was the only one, or like, thank you for sharing your story. I don't feel so alone anymore. And just that in and of itself has made it so clear to me that, like, that impression to start writing things down didn't come from me. I know that God would want someone else to feel seen, to feel validated in what they're experiencing. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's what motivated me.
Yeah.
You should consider yourself lucky, Richard. Nobody knows that.
Yeah, hey, yeah. Well, I can't wait for the book. If the book isn't called something like "As Sisters in Zion, We All Love Each Other" or something like that, then it's a
That
hard
would be
mess.
incredible.
You you know, there's There's gold to be found in the title of that book. In seriousness, though, there is a beautiful both LDS principle and Christian principle of like finding the one or leaving the 99 and trying to seek out the ones that may be, hurting or alone or feel alone or not able to reconcile or have family and all of those things. So a beautifully walked out principle as far as that goes. Um, I also have to imagine that the internet is full of the worst people in the world too, in response. That's occurred, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
do you,
for
how do
sure.
you deal with that? Because that is where you guys have said, hey, you know what? We are not removing our names, but we're still a part of it. And so many of your family and loved ones are still a part of it. How are you able to create a space where you're like, okay, those people that are of the same faith as my family, without becoming super embittered or, how are you able to deal with that? Because I would imagine it's a lot.
Yeah, and it does happen. And like I going into starting to share the story, I had to sort of prepare myself for like, okay, you put yourself on social media, you are opening yourself up to the possibility of receiving hate and
Yeah.
anger and really terrible things. I will be honest, only one message I received was really, really awful and it like, made me sick to my stomach.
Mhm.
But everything else, I would say a majority of what I've received has been incredibly positive, incredibly
Good.
kind. Yeah, so, but also I think it's important to note that some of the most judgmental and most unkind messages I've received are from members of the church.
Yeah.
And that breaks my heart because I know the kindness and the love of Christ that we are supposed to embody as members of the church. And that's not necessarily what I've seen.
Yeah.
And so if someone who wasn't in such a comfortable place with their relationship with God and Jesus and even like religion and spirituality in general received messages like that, that would be detrimental to them. So
Sure.
I'm grateful that I'm in a place where I'm comfortable and can handle things like that. And even if sometimes, yeah, it does hurt my feelings and it
Yeah.
makes me sad. And,
Yeah.
um, I can't imagine someone saying something like that to my face. So it's
Yeah.
just the
Mhm.
power that social media gives people is really sad to me.
Yeah.
And I just have to remember that a lot of the time, people who spread hate don't truly understand the way that God would want us to live. And
Sure.
they're still learning that. They're still on that journey. And I have to respect that they're still on that journey and they're imperfect and that's okay. We all are. And so I try to have grace for those people. And most of the time I just block them and remove the message because I don't need like I want my page and my social media to be a place of positivity and of kindness and of acceptance. And so there's no place there for people who want to be hateful and angry and
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
And I have to, so as you probably have seen in videos, I'm not very involved, if at all.
Hmm.
Um,
Although I
and
did notice that you posted my wife is a celebrity, so I thought that was
yeah,
particularly
I was
sweet.
like, I made it. Oh my gosh, she can
Woo!
retire me
Yeah.
early. That
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
phenomenal. Goodness gracious. I will be a trophy wife any day,
Yeah.
but it was like I have been watching her do this and I've been so impressed
Yeah.
because she is so like eloquent in her words and so patient and so kind. And every like I was really worried because I was worried about her and her mental health and things like that. Having seen rock bottom for her, like
Hmm.
I would never ever want to go back there.
Yeah.
But she has carried herself so gracefully, and people have tuned to that. People have noticed that.
Yeah.
And it's just been incredible to see. And I'm like, all right, like I support you 100%. Like if we're gonna run, let's run, like let's run forward and I'll just be right behind you and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I think it was Sister Swift who said the haters are going to hate, 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 hate. And I think Sister Swift. It might not have been a general conference. I might
You're
be
right.
making
You're
that
right
up.
on.
Yeah. Is that what it was? Yeah. Yeah. The haters gonna. Yeah. 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 It was Swift. I want to ask you guys. There's a question we ask everyone who steps into the culture hall. And before I get to that, I want to say thank you for sharing your story. I know that there will be lots of opinions that people will have about it. People that listen to this, people that see your page, people that hear the way that I asked you guys questions, but you didn't ask them about. There will be a lot of that. But I just appreciate how you guys have been open and being able to share this and knowing that for some people, this would be like, it's just another couple of women who fell in love. It's no big deal. And for other people, it will be like this first time hearing of two people that just love each other, and that's how this came about. It's one of the things that I love about the Cultural Hall is that we don't shy away from the conversations that we have. We just want to go right in and go, and what? And I'm not telling anyone how to feel or what they should think or what the takeaway is. But you guys have made it tremendously easy to just be like, and this is how we felt. And we aren't through it. And we're still figuring this out. And, each day and each year, you're kind of look back. I hope that when the book finishes, that you'll let me know so we can have a conversation and let people know that book is out there and that people can be able to purchase it. But there is a question we ask everyone who steps into the Cultural Hall, ask people of all sorts of faiths this same question, and we allow you to interpret it however you would like. But the question that we ask everyone is, what is your favorite part of your faith? And I want to ask that of each of you. However you would interpret that, I would love to know what your favorite part of your faith is. If you're just listening to this, the faces of the response speak for themselves in some ways. But again, it doesn't have to be. Sometimes people hear faith and they think faith tradition. Sometimes people will, however you would like. But what's your favorite part of your faith?
I think I'll go first.
Okay.
Being from a household where, like, growing up in the church wasn't the norm.
Mm-hmm.
We all approached it very differently. Like, me and my parents approached it just starkly different. And we're all at very different stages. But what I have really appreciated is that we have all been met where we are.
Mm.
And with grace, kindness, and respect. Like, sometimes it's hard for people, like, oh, you're not on my level. Like, come talk to me when you are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was never the case. It was more like, all right, like, hey, Sal, you're here. Cool. We're going to help you and support you to get you to where you're next year. Like, great. Like, your dad is here. We're going to help him and support him to get him to where he goes. Your mom is over here. Awesome. We're going to help her and support her wherever she goes. And that has beautifully blended us together, even though we still don't do the same things in regards to the church, but we are unified. And I've always really, really respected that. Yeah.
You're about to find out, Cammie, that you're going to wish you had gone first, because it's always hard to follow something up like that. But I would love to know what is your favorite part of your faith?
I always like following her. She's always good at answering questions. I think the first thing that came to my head when you asked the question was myself. I think I am my favorite part of my faith, and that probably sounds weird, but the thing that I've come to understand, probably mostly in the last year or so, is the part that I play in the person that God wants me to be. Like, it's not a passive thing. It's not a passive thing to become someone better, someone more empathetic, someone more kind, someone more loving. And there are very, like, specific things that I have had to do to become that person. And if my only goal in life is to be more like Christ and to love other people as he would, to serve other people as he would, then, I feel like no matter what my life looks like, as long as that's my goal and as long as I'm working to do that, then he's happy with me. And so that's my favorite part, is getting to become that person and learning who he wants me to be and how I can best be that example of someone who loves God and who loves the Savior and wants to show that to other people.
Yeah. Well said, both of you. If people want to see the videos that we've sort of referenced, we'll leave a link in the show notes, but is there an account on social media that they can follow that would be able to get everything that they're after?
Yeah, on Instagram, it is Kam, Kam _Cruz Skomoski.
Yeah, so just spell that like it sounds.
Okay, yeah, pretty
Basically,
much.
yeah.
C-R-U-Z.
Yeah, I'm teasing. We'll leave a link for it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then TikTok, it's Cammie Kruzski.
Okay. So people can go and check that out. Again, hope that you circle back and have the conversation when that book is out. I've enjoyed our time very much. I hope that this episode has nourished and strengthened your body, and that if you're not healthy enough to listen this week, that you'll be healthy enough to listen next week, and that when the time comes, you'll be able to travel home in safety. In the meantime, we'll be saving a seat for you on the back row of the Cultural Hall.
Save me a seat, it's sure to be neat on the back row. We really gotta go on the Cultural Hall show.